Teruel MotoGP may not have been the most significant, in the sense we aren't that much closer to finding out who will be 2020 MotoGP champion, but it did potentially throw a new name into the mix. While we've been touting a four-way battle for a couple of races now, Franco Morbidelli's win in Aragon changes the playing field somewhat yet again, and a performance he demonstrated on Sunday, faultless from lap 1 to the checkered flag, is a type of title-winning demonstration we haven't really seen this year. For now, Joan Mir still leads over Fabio Quartararo by 14 points, with Maverick Vinales ticking things over in third, 19 points behind. Morbidelli, however, is now only 25 points shy himself, or rather within a race win. He was the big winner this weekend in more than one sense of the word. But who else rose and who flopped? This is Crash.net's Teruel MotoGP winners and losers. When Franco Morbidelli qualified on the front row for the Teruel MotoGP, the familiar trope of Yamaha race weekends looked as though it would play out like it occasionally does at a circuit such as Motorland Aragon. That means a strong qualifying from a machine that handles sweetly enough to bag a rapid lap, before finding itself playing the rearguard action as its top speed limitations make it all too easy to be overtaken in a straight line in the race. That's what happened to Maverick Vinales and Fabio Quartararo. Morbidelli, after taking the lead on lap 1, was unbeatable. His flawlessness and focus adding that, say, 30% supplement to the 10% the Yamaha generally loses on race days. It also makes him an increasingly interesting title contender, but not just this year, but beyond too. He may have been down and out versus Quartararo in 2019, but Morbidelli's fight back with interest in 2020 is all the more credit to him. What a couple of woeful weekends it was for Ducati, if it wasn't for Johann Zarco flying the flag on his Avintia racing bike. While the Frenchman has been a touch inconsistent of late, breaking past Ducati's apparent limitations at Aragon and landing another top 5 finish shows just how good Zarco can be when he's operating in his optimum zone. More than that though, he demonstrated some stellar fighting spirit in his tussle with Miguel Oliveira, as his Ducati counterparts fumbled in the midfield behind him. Ironically, the GP19 package probably gave him the shot of a better result than a GP20 could. While Ducati will be pleased to see such a positive result as a company, it's going to be feeling rather humbled by the fact that it was again an Avintia bike that was getting the job done. That is no discredit to Zarco though, and it's no exaggeration to say Pramac may have landed itself a gem for 2021 if he can carry this form onto the 2021 Desmond Sedici package he clearly deserves. It could actually happen. Joan Mir could be 2020 MotoGP World Champion, a statement that is remarkable on several levels. For one, he is in only his second season of MotoGP, which in turn is only his fifth season of Grand Prix racing total, and it'd be Suzuki's first Premier Class title win since Kenny Roberts in 2000, not to mention it being only its fifth Total Riders crown as well. But can he really do it without winning a single race? It's a fact that clearly bothers him, even if it impresses everyone else, and Mir flat refuses to consider himself even a title contender without stepping on top of the podium first. He has a point. If Mir does win the title without winning a race, it rather casts a questioning light back onto his rivals, who failed to capitalise on their more headline-grabbing successes. Nonetheless, it shouldn't serve to diminish the route Mir is taking towards his title fight, whether he intended it to be or not. For one, his consistency is impressive of any rider in only their second season of MotoGP, while his ride on Sunday, 12th to 3rd, shows Mir has the qualities to tough it out when he needs to. Qualifying is still an ongoing bugbear, but demonstrates that Mir is leading this year's title race with evidently so much more still to come from the Spaniard. Now, it's very hard to really describe Takaaki Nakagami as a loser, so in appropriate tradition, we're going to label him as our winner and loser this time around. We say loser, or perhaps the rider who lost out the most is a more accurate way to describe it, merely to reflect the crushing disappointment that came from his abrupt and unfamiliar error that ended his hopes of what could have been a crowning moment for the Japanese favourite. After all, the stars couldn't have been aligning any more pertinently for Nakagami. Unshakable consistency this season thus far, growing confidence strengthened by confirmation of a multi-year deal with Honda, and a Marquez-like dependency in his fast lap times during each session leading up to his maiden pole position. In short, if a race win was going to happen, it seemed to be happening here. But it was all over 30 seconds into the race. A shocking moment on its own, but when you consider Nakagami had been unshakable in his consistency in 2020, you could almost hear the collective "ah" around the globe as he skated face first into the gravel trap. His disappointment was palpable even across the TV screens. However, in many ways Nakagami is still a winner here. A rider who many put down to being there because of Honda's discretion as a Japanese rider has flourished into a genuinely exciting young racer. Whereas many youngsters come to MotoGP showing speed, but perhaps not reliability week in, week out, Nakagami has conquered the foundation of consistency and is now breaking through with some scintillating speed. And don't forget, that is a 2019 spec Honda he's doing it on. We featured Ducati here last weekend, but we can't help but call it out again, in an event that appeared to suggest the team actually went backwards in its competitiveness. With it falling to Johann Zarco and Avintia Racing to spare some blushes, Ducati was mired outside the top 10 for much of the weekend. Not least in FP2, when 5 of its bikes filled all 5 positions at the bottom of the timesheets. Granted, Jack Miller could have hoped for a better result had he not been torpedoed out of contention by Brad Binder on lap 1, but this is a team that isn't operating at anywhere near its best right now. A clearly despondent Andrea Dovizioso looks dejected by his struggles. Take a look at KTM, for example, who have made huge gains week on week after analysing and correcting last weekend's issues. On the other hand, Ducati appears to have resorted to something Honda have done, by making a bike that is potentially very quick in the right circumstances. Except, while Honda has developed a bike that works seamlessly with Marc Marquez, its approach of team knows best, something Dovizioso and even Casey Stoner have complained about in the past, has left it with a machine that doesn't really suit any of their needs. With Dovizioso 28 points adrift now, while we won't count it out just yet, you have to wonder whether it has squandered just too many opportunities to get it back into the mix.